Before we get into today's episode, let me ask you something. Do you know what your current level of English really is? Understanding your level is crucial to tracking your progress and ensuring your hard work is paying off. That's why I've created a quick and easy English level test that you can take right now for free. Find out your level instantly. Just head to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/testme or check the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome to the British English Podcast with me, your host, Charlie. And today, through outrageous popular demand, I've been getting endless emails saying, where is Ben from Down Under, the historian that can quote anything about British history that is longer than 100 years ago, would you say? Anything
I think
current, you've just got no memory.
I think that's a good boundary, yeah. I mean, who's Tony Blair?
Well, there you go. You just said it. So welcome, Ben. Thank you very much for coming on again. Last episode we did was about King Athelstan and King
William the Conqueror.
King William the Conqueror, of course, yes. And today, guys, we're going to be doing Henry VIII. So we're going to be diving into the life of this monarch whose name virtually every Brit recognises. I don't know about you, Ben, but I tend to think of the oblong face of King Henry VIII, the square picture of him. Like, he looks really oblong with his chest, his shoes, and his very big face.
Yeah.
That picture?
Yeah, well, of course, his famous outfit is that sort of red... it's like a sort of a shirt that comes down to his waist and it's tied off, and it's sort of like a mini dress that comes above his, it comes like in frills above his knees, and then he wears those white stockings.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And he's a cornerstone of British cultural knowledge. I did just ask a couple of my friends before coming here who have no interest in history, British friends, and they understand who Henry VIII is. So they remember him from our childhood years, and they know that he had 6 wives, which we will get into. That's a bit of a teaser for the listeners. But yeah, so he reigned from 1509 to 1547, apparently. Henry VIII is perhaps most notorious for his 6 marriages and the seismic shifts he initiated in the English religious landscape. But beyond the headlines, his impact was profound, shaping the very fabric of British society and governance. For example, he was an accomplished musician, or he was also responsible for the creation of the Royal Navy.
Yeah. I heard that he increased the naval size by times 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was probably a paranoid guy. He was worried about, the invading French and Spanish.
Yeah. So join us as we unravel the life of this larger-than-life king whose decisions continue to echo through history. So, have you ever wondered if you're making real progress in your English learning journey? Knowing your level is the key to recognizing your improvements. I have a fantastic tool for you, a free English level test that gives you an instant result. Take a few minutes now to discover your level and continue your learning journey with confidence. Visit thebritishenglishpodcast.com/testme or click the link in the show notes to find out your level of English today. So, Ben, do you want to kick us off with one of the first facts of the day?
Yeah, sure thing. Okay. So as we know, Henry's probably the most famous of all monarchs, and probably to do with his, the 6 wives and something else we're going to talk about later. But he's also the sort of the epitome of what we would consider the chivalrous king, the image of a British king that we see in movies and we think about when we think about British kings. So let's start with a young Henry VIII. So before becoming synonymous with marital mayhem, he was quite the Renaissance man. Picture this: an athletic, handsome king, fluent in multiple languages, a skilled musician composing his own tunes, and a sports enthusiast who could out-joust anyone. In fact, he had such a bad jousting accident that he refused to ever joust again at one point. He hit his head, I believe, and he had a concussion. And some people believe that changed his personality forever.
Yeah, I heard that he got a knee injury as well as being concussed for over like a substantial amount of hours. And they said that changed his mood from then on because maybe he couldn't joust again. He was sad about that, probably.
Yeah.
I was really good. No, I can't. There's no video of him. There's no video evidence that he can say, like, watch this.
Yeah, I know. Once he's done, it's done.
Yeah. Do you think they were more mindful back then? Like, live for the moment?
I would say so, yeah. I think because you can't record everything, you've got to make sure that you can always show everyone. It's like the old party trick, right? Before we had the cameras and iPhones and everything, people would have this party trick and everyone go, oh, I've never seen that before. You've got to show me. And they couldn't ever see it. So the party trick was a big thing. I noticed that's disappeared, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've not been shown a magic trick since the, like, not invention of YouTube, but just the commonplace usage of it.
Yeah. I feel like the party trick has definitely died off.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Yeah, now it's everyone gathering around someone's phone to watch something silly.
And I'm also thinking of that picture of New Year's Eve where people were on a bridge. I think it was in France. It could have been another country, but literally every single person had their phone up and they were recording what you could see. It was mental.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he was a chivalrous man, a very cultured man before he got gout and other things that effed him up.
But I wonder if the hit to the head was what sort of caused his, some would say, crazy ventures into marriages, this constant
maybe
sort of erratic behavior with partners.
Well, I think I've also realized that just exercising regularly keeps you very mentally stable.
Yes, it does.
And without that exercise, he's probably a different person.
He was a big guy, wasn't he?
He got to be.
He became huge.
Yeah.
How tall was he? I don't know. Wasn't he 6'4" or something?
I don't know.
Actually,
how tall? Henry VIII. 6 feet.
6 feet. Okay, well, that's still pretty big back then. I think Charlemagne was like 6'7" or something, which is crazy.
I don't know who Charlemagne was.
Charlemagne was the king of the Franks. He was sort of the first ruler of the Holy Roman Empire after Rome fell, but this was in like the 700s.
Uh-huh.
He united all the sort of Frankish kingdoms.
Right. And for anyone who doesn't use feet, 182 centimetres.
For Henry. That's big back then. That's very big back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as much cow's milk.
No. I mean, he probably had his pick, but yeah.
Well, he had 6 wives to sort of bitty from.
No wonder. Once they gave him a child, they eventually run out, don't they? And you have to get another one. What's that saying? Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free?
What does that mean?
It's just a.
I know. I get the metaphor actually.
Yeah. I don't know if I've used it correctly there. There's some mixed metaphor there. I don't know.
Why buy the cow when the milk is? No, that's right.
Means why make a commitment to a woman when you're getting the sex on the side?
Oh, okay. So it's a specifically sexual thing.
But it doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about. We just happen to be talking about cows and getting milk from your wife.
It's often used to discourage people, particularly women, from giving away their romantic sexual favours too easily or without commitment from their partner. Now, this ties in very nicely with the second wife, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed.
But we won't go there.
We won't go there yet.
We will come to wife number 1 after this quick question that I'd like you to read. Actually, no, I'd like to read for you to answer potentially. So if Henry VIII was a modern day man and he, felt like YouTube was his calling, what do you reckon his channel would be about?
100% it would be about MMA.
Why?
He's this big guy who participated in the death sports of the time, jousting and probably sword fighting tournaments. That was the MMA of the time,
Right.
I would say he'd be very interested in that roughhousing.
Okay. MMA being mixed martial arts.
Yeah. You know what? I actually think that in his early years, he would have been about something like that, sport or something like that, if he was alive today. And in his later years, probably something about, religion and law.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Something like that. Yeah.
I think he might have a podcast.
Yeah, about religion and law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if people come on and they disagree with him, he just immediately cancels them.
Yeah. I see him as a Joe Rogan type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Henry's first marital venture was the Catherine of Aragon. Is it Aragon or Aragon?
Aragon.
So that was a middle.
Catherine. Look, I did go middle there, didn't I? I made no commitment either way. I didn't. There was no commitment in that. I'm just going to say Aragon because that's what I think.
Aragon.
I've heard.
Okay. Because I felt like if I say Aragon, I'm just thinking of Legolas and Aragon.
From Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I mean, he took a lot of stuff from all this, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Aragon. Forgive us, guys, if we get that wrong. The Spanish people will know this best because it's from Spain. Aragon was a region within Spain.
It was a kingdom.
Yes.
Yes.
So Catherine was a princess from Spain. Actually, I should say her full name all the time because there's loads of Catherines. So Catherine of Aragon, a princess from Spain who was originally married to his brother Arthur, Henry's brother. Their marriage was not just a union of two hearts, but a strategic alliance between two powerful countries.
Yeah. So basically, this was a strategic alliance between England and Spain. So Henry's father, Henry VII, had wanted to create and foster good relations with what is modern day Spain, and so arranged for Catherine of Aragon to marry his first son, Prince Arthur. That was Henry's older brother. So Catherine was the daughter of Isabella I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon. They were two major kingdoms in that region in Spain at the time. So she was the product of two competing kingdoms uniting.
Right.
And then when she was 3 years old, she was betrothed to Arthur, and then they married.
When she was 3?
That's right. An arranged marriage was a very common thing back then between royal families.
But she didn't obviously marry him when she was 3.
No. Although I wouldn't put it past them back then. But
wow. So how old? Do you know how old she was when she married King Arthur?
She was age 16. So she married him in 1501 at age 16.
Do you know how old he was?
He was 16 as well, or 17. So they were pretty similar in age.
Okay. So they were born around the same time, and their parents were like, these guys would look good together in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was a political alliance, and they also thought about how well they looked. So Arthur died 5 months later, actually, after they got married of an unknown illness, probably like tuberculosis or plague or influenza or something. They don't really.
Sexual disease?
Who knows?
Sexually transmitted disease?
Yeah. I mean, the doctors back then really solved everything with leeches and stuff, didn't they? So they didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
So Henry VII, who was Henry VIII's father, wanted to keep his plans intact, and because Arthur, his oldest son, had died, he then decided to arrange for Catherine to marry his next oldest son, and the next in line to the throne, who was Henry VIII.
Right. Okay. There we go. I also heard that he died. Arthur died, and then she had to wait around in England for about 7 years.
Yeah.
Whilst Henry made his mind up, and then they married.
Actually, I think it was until Henry became of age.
Oh, so he wanted her. He just couldn't have her.
Well, he was 16 or something, or 17 when he married her. It was something like that, and she was like in her early to mid 20s or something. So she'd had to wait around all that time.
Okay, so I should also add, over 2 decades, they tried for an heir. So this, for me, is news, because I look at Henry VIII and I think, 6 wives, you pig. That's horrible to do that. And we will get to the rhyme of what Brits remember and probably Aussies remember of King Henry VIII and how he treated his wives. Not great, let's be honest. And the 20 years to his marriage, his first marriage, that's pretty good going.
Yeah, he did. He was, I'm wondering, was this before he fell off his horse and hit his head?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. This sounds like the beginning of a nursery rhyme. Humpty Dumpty. Henry VIII sat on a wall, married to Catherine of Parr. No, is it Catherine?
Wait, what? Hang on.
Catherine Aragon.
I'm not even joking. Wasn't that about Henry falling off his horse?
Oh no, was it really?
I think it might have been.
It's Humpty Dumpty.
About King Henry VIII.
About Cardinal Wolsey from Henry VIII's era.
I knew it was something to do with Henry VIII.
Another idea says the rhyme refers to King Richard and his defeat at the Battle of Bosworth.
I think they're talking about his change of personality when he fell off his horse.
Right.
That's what I thought I remembered it being, but I might be wrong.
Makes sense. Yeah. But yeah.
Interesting thought anyway.
It is.
That's something for all of you guys to go and research.
Yeah.
Write to us at P.O. Box.
I don't have a P.O. box yet.
Well, you're building up slowly.
Yeah. They're expensive. Anyway, so 20 years together, fair effort, right?
Pretty good.
They tried for an heir, facing personal tragedies with multiple stillbirths and infant deaths. That's not fun by any means, which put immense strain on their relationship, which I can understand. The lack of a male successor led Henry down a path of desperate measures, sparking his eventual quest for annulment, shaking the foundations of England's relationship with the Catholic Church. So this is a huge moment in history. What do you reckon? If Henry was alive today, would he be keen to use IVF if it were available for him?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah?
I mean, he went as far as a king could possibly go to get a son.
Yeah.
I mean, if IVF had been around, he would have gone, yeah, just give me that. That's so much easier.
I mean, they were clearly able to get pregnant, so maybe IVF isn't the answer for them. But I think in some super genetic kind of clever IVFs, you can choose the gender, can't you? I think there's something about that out now.
I'm not sure. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely sure that if that option was available, he would have done it. I mean,
you don't think he would feel like he's cheating the religion? Like,
I don't think he cared about the religion.
No, he didn't.
I mean, I think that's quite obvious.
Yeah. So we're going into the next wife now, but I feel like we should talk about what we just mentioned.
Well,
so do you want to go for it?
Yeah. Well, we can talk about it as we talk about Anne.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So who's Anne?
So Anne Boleyn was Henry's second wife, and she's often remembered for her tragic end. But her story is a testament to her influence over Henry and the entire kingdom, the whole of England. Now, her refusal to become just another mistress of Henry's led to an unprecedented religious and political upheaval. So Henry's determination to marry Anne basically saw him challenge the Pope's authority, which initiated the English Reformation.
And what is the English Reformation?
So basically, Henry wanted to divorce Catherine, which you couldn't do at the time.
Right.
So he asked his head cardinal, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, which you've probably heard of, his famous name. He sent him to visit with Pope Clement VII to request a divorce.
Okay.
Now, divorce at this time was very frowned upon by the Catholic Church, and you would need a bloody good reason.
But I did hear that it was possible, and it had happened in the past, and often they would say it was because it's too incestuous. They're too related, but often they would actually just be not happy. But they would just be like, oh, well, they can't be together because we've realised that they're like brother and sister.
That's so funny that's the reason that they all used, because they just knew. They're like, well, when it suited them, they're like, yeah, oh, all right. And then when they don't want it anymore, they're like, this is disgusting.
But I heard that he couldn't do this, or King Henry VIII couldn't get this annulment because King Charles V didn't like him. He didn't like King Henry, and King Charles V had authority or influence over the Pope. Exactly.
It's perfectly correct. So basically what happened was Henry sent Wolsey to argue that the marriage was invalid based on the fact that she had already married his brother.
Yeah.
The Pope refused, and the reason for this refusal, as you said, was that Charles V, who was the Holy Roman Emperor at the time, and he was the most powerful man in Europe, was also the nephew of Catherine.
Yes.
So
he's like, well, what? You just divorced my mum.
Yeah.
No, auntie.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was his mum as well.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep Catherine as Queen of England.
I gotta be honest though, that's not a great excuse. What they said, that Catherine was married to his brother before. Like that's not bloodlines confused.
No, I think it might have something to do with her. Like there's an assertion that she may not be a virgin.
Oh, I see.
Look, don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert on Catholicism and their the intricacies of that with the royal families. But I think it has something to do with them having to be a virgin or something.
Right.
I don't know if it's a hard and fast rule, but he can use it as a reason.
Yes.
I think.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically Charles V, who was the Holy Roman Emperor at the time, most powerful man in Europe, he wanted to keep his auntie as Queen of England. So, he basically threatened the Pope that he had to refuse this request.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. We will be leaving the free version of this episode here for today. But if you did want to continue listening to this conversation, then head over to the BritishEnglishPodcast.com, where you can sign up to the Premium Podcast or the Academy. The Premium Podcast gives you the ad-free version with transcripts, a full glossary and flashcards, whereas the Academy gives you all of that plus a whole lot more, including vocab video lessons, writing assignments, weekly Zoom classes, and you can also get paired with a new speaking partner of a similar level to yours each month to really get your speaking practice in. But if you were just here for the free version of this episode, then I thank you very much. Congratulations for getting to the end of this part, and I hope to see you back here next week for another episode. I've been your host, Charlie, on the British English Podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Before you go, make sure you know where you stand in your English learning journey. I've created a free English level test that you can take right now to find out your exact level. It's quick, easy, and gives you instant results. Head to thebritishenglishpodcast.com/testme or check the link in the show notes. Because tracking your progress helps you stay on track. We can't use track twice, guys. No, let's do that again. Yep, we don't have time. Oh. All right, we'll just delete this last sentence then.